How much money should the Arizona Cardinals pay Kyler Murray is a very fascinating question. I think that, the reality is every team's first question should be, do we have a quarterback? And, it should all depend on the quarterback. What's our quarterback situation? That is everyone's plan A in each offseason. So if you have a quarterback, good, then you can move on to the other stuff. If you don't, got to figure that stuff out. So because of that, some people just feel like, hey, you get a good quarterback, just keep him. But obviously, the goal is not to just be a decent team. You want to win a Super Bowl. So I created an algorithm that I think can do a pretty solid job at displaying how much money a quarterback should make if you want to win a championship. The way this works is you look at how much wins above replacement. A typical, spending X amount in free agency will get you. Also, how much you have with the draft capital that you typically have. All of that stuff, you typically get, a certain amount of wins, and typically what you need is about at least 2.3 wins from your quarterback to just stand a chance to win a Super Bowl. Not always, there has been exceptions, but really, almost always, that's the line you're looking for, is 2.3 wins above replacement. If you're more interested in how I came up with that chart, you can simply just search which quarterbacks are worth their contracts according to analytics, and then search my name, Jackson Kruger Sports. I made a whole video talking about how I came up with that algorithm and all of that stuff. But moving past there, let's talk about how it affects Kyler Murray. So first what we have to do is talk about how much money you should pay a quarterback based on how many wins they typically get. So this is the chart. On the left, you see that is the wins added, and then on the right, that is how much money you could afford to spend on them. So if you can get a 5.83 win quarterback, that was Tom Brady's best season. That's the best season I've seen from a quarterback using Pro Football Focus's wins above replacement metric, which isn't perfect, but it's pretty good. That's one of my favorite stats. And according to that, you could literally spend over $100 million if you can get a quarterback that good. But again, we're talking about the greatest quarterback of all time's greatest season, not something you're often going to replicate. A 5-win quarterback is worth $71.9 million. A 4-win quarterback is worth $43.8 million. 3 wins is worth $23.5, and then a 2.3 win quarterback is worth 0, but you at least have a chance to win a Super Bowl that way. So if you can get a 2.3 win quarterback who's getting paid nothing, it's still a good contract. Again, I want to be very clear when I'm talking about this. That does not mean that's their actual value. That's what would make it a good contract that allows you to win a championship. If you're talking about how many just wins do they get and you take away positional value, they're actually worth a lot more than that. But the goal is, how can you maximize your odds of winning a Super Bowl? And looking at that contract data, that tends to be the way that you do it. You really don't want to have a bad quarterback contract. So this is where things get interesting. So you might be wondering, okay, that's great and all, but I don't know how much wins Kyler Murray is worth. And it's a fair question. So one thing I wanted to talk about was, okay, how much do we think Kyler Murray is worth? We have this formula. Well, how good is Kyler Murray? That's the first question we have to answer. And it's debatable. So when I made my podcast with Kyle, where I did my top 32 quarterback rankings, I had him as my 10th best quarterback. So let's just do that. How much should he be worth if he's the 10th best quarterback in football? Right here is the answer. $21.24 million for the 10th best quarterback in football. Now, it should be clear, that's the average amount that you could spend on the 6th through 11th best quarterback in football, given the past 11 years. So because of that, it might be a little bit different than just simply saying, this is actually what he's worth. If he is the 10th best quarterback in football next year, it actually would be he'd be worth a little bit lower than that. But over here, $45.26 million is what it is for the average top 5 quarterback season. Just any guy in all the top 5 quarterback seasons over the past 11 years, the average quarterback that made that would be worth $45.26 million, which is very close to what Kyler is asking for. So what does all that mean? Well, for one thing, it's worth mentioning that he is still under contract, and maybe he will sit here and refuse to play unless he gets another deal. But for the meantime, hopefully that doesn't happen. He will still play on his rookie deal, which would mean that for next year, he's only getting a little over $11 million, which means that according to this algorithm, he would just need to be a 2.76 quarterback, which is right around where I have him. So they could legitimately be a championship contending team next year, which is also part of the value of a rookie deal. Now, he has the fifth-year option picked up. The fifth-year option isn't as good as some people think it is, especially for quarterbacks. He's still getting paid $29 million, so fifth-year option, actually, kind of one of those things that used to matter a lot, but now there's more incentives built in, so it doesn't really help you out as much as you would like. He would need to be a 3.49 win quarterback, which he has shown flashes of being. Before his injury last year, he was leading the MVP race. So if you believe he can be a consistent top 5 quarterback or a consistent 4-win quarterback, then I would pay him. You don't know. There's a risk factor here. The reality is there's only a small handful of teams that don't have a risk factor with quarterback. And the option of getting rid of him and trying something different, if you don't think he's ever going to be a top 5 quarterback and you think last year was a fluke, which I don't, but if you are someone who believes that, then I get it. Then I get the argument, okay, let's pump the brakes and let's go a different route. I can understand why you might be willing to do something like that and get a big draft haul for him and then start over again. Listen, the Arizona Cardinals already gave up on a quarterback in Josh Rosen, so it's something you could do. I pay Kyler Murray. I do. $45 million I would feel good about a year. Again, I'm typically more in favor of paying quarterbacks if I feel like they can have that upside. We've seen him have top 5 potential, and at least for these next 2 years, you have a really good chance. So ideally, I don't pay him now. I wait and then pay him. Give it another year. Give us some more data to work with, right? I think that's the preferred outcome. But if he says to me, if I'm the GM of the Cardinals, and he comes to me and says, hey, listen, here's how this is working. I'm not playing next year unless you either trade me or you pay me. So those are my options. Either I get rid of him or I pay him. I think I pay him just because the quarterback position is so important. I think I'm willing to take that chance because there is a risk factor, but he's also really young and could get better. So I think I give him the money and hope it works out, which could put me in a bind. But, listen, Carson Wentz has been traded twice. Jared Goff was apparently a positive asset of that trade is how the Lions viewed it. That's what they said. Maybe they're just trying to be nice, but that's what they said. I think you can get rid of a bad contract easier than people realize. It wouldn't be great. You take on a lot of dead cap, but I think you can get rid of at least some of that bad contract if it does come back to bite you. And for me personally, I just think that the upside is too good with Kyler, so I would pay him. But and by the way, a bad contract would still hurt you. I'm just saying it wouldn't completely tank you. It would just put you in a tough spot. Although, let's be honest, if you're a GM and you give out that contract and it doesn't work out, you're probably fired. But if you get rid of Kyler Murray and it doesn't work out, you're fired either way. So, got to take a chance. I would take the chance to keep him, but I do get the other argument. What do you guys think? What is your thought on all of this? Do you think that Kyler should get this big contract? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.